What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris Lebron, and we're on the Nothing But Net radio channel on Dash Radio. And I got a special guest with me. I was on his show a few weeks ago, so I had to repay the favor and have him on the pod. What's going on, Josh Rodriguez, my man? How you doing today?
Good, Chris, man. Thanks for having me on. You were a great guest, so happy to return the favor. Let's talk some basketball. Let's talk some Knicks. I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
Yes. And you host your own show, The Dime with Josh Rodriguez, which is absolutely tremendous show. Please check it out, guys. Available on all platforms. There's a plug for you right there, bro. But
thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Before we get into all the topics and all that, because we got a great show for you guys, just tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started with podcasting and all that good stuff.
That's a long story. I'll try to make it short as possible.
Give us the Cliff Notes version.
Basically, I was an internet TV host. I wanted to do some sports type of stuff, and the station that I was at really wasn't into sports. It was more like an entertainment type of company. And so basically, I was like, if I'm going to have my name circulating in the sports realm, I need to start my own podcast. So I started The Dime with Josh Rodriguez. It's been running for 3 years now. One thing led to another. I have podcast production background experience. Got a job at Uninterrupted. So now I'm a podcast producer there at Uninterrupted while doing The Dime with Josh Rodriguez and continue to do that as well. So, like anybody who wants to do podcasting, if you weren't named the sports media, just start something. That's why I try to tell everybody, start something yourself and good things will happen. Just make sure you're consistent with it.
Like you said, consistency.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing with people is just being consistent. And I had that same problem when I first started my show because I dove into podcasting and trying to do content a few times, and you get started. It's always all right. You get started. You do that first show. Right. You're like, all right, and then you figure out, all right, not the time to do a second show, and then it never
it's hard.
happens. And then I came to a point where I was just like, you know what, just do it,
right?
Just do it, and I just went with it, and then I'm still here,
Podcast fatigue. That's what I call it, man. Podcast fatigue is real.
Yep.
Like it's easy to do 1 or 2 episodes, but to do it every single week on the same day or relatively the same day, it's difficult, especially when you have a family, you have kids, or you got a job. It's tough.
Tell me about it, man. Trying to work a 9 to 5, take care of family, kids, and all that, and try to, fill in, hour or so a week. It's tough, but consistency, like you said, just being consistent and just going at it, and if you put the work in, some good things can happen. So, this is, I think, my 101st episode. I have my 100th.
Oh, snap. Let's go.
Yeah. 101. This is episode 101.
Right,
and it's crazy to even get to this point, and, even get past, like I said, getting past one is the hardest part. Like I talked about this relentlessly. Like, I think there's a stat like 60% of people can't get past the first episode because the first episode is always easy but it's like you said, it's just going past after that and that grind and I don't think people realize how much work you have to put into a show.
Especially if it's a good show, right? Like you can't just like have a conversation then upload it and that's it. You got to edit it. You got to add some segments. You got to be creative. You have to develop a brand. You have to be consistent with the brand. It's a lot. It's a job. It really is a job that you're not getting paid for.
Exactly. And that's another thing you mentioned. People always ask me, I want to get paid. How do I get paid? And it's like, whoa. All right. Unless you're like an already established figure, a former athlete, celebrity, whatever genre you are, unless you're established in that profession that you're talking about, whatever you're talking about, you ain't going to make money for possibly a long time, if ever. So never go into it thinking, all right, I want to do this to get paid. You do it for the love of it, the passion. And then with that, if the show takes off and you're doing good stuff, good things can happen. And if you wind up making money or getting on bigger platforms and all that, then that's just a bonus. But never do it simply just to get paid. Unless you're, like I said, you're a celebrity and you already got the sponsors already in and you're on big time Spotify, whatever. But I always tell people, don't do it just to get to think you're going to get rich off this, because you're not. It's going to take a while. If, like I said, if ever.
You will be highly disappointed. Highly disappointed.
Highly disappointed. And I tell people, don't look into numbers.
Right.
People get so fixated on, I only got this many downloads. And that's another reason why people don't advance, because they see, I got 2 listens. And it's like, no, keep going. You got to build. You got to start somewhere.
I tell people that all the time. It's like I do freelance production for a lot of my friends or things of that nature. And when I tell you like 20 downloads is not common, it's not common. Like if you're getting 20 downloads, that's a lot more than a lot of people are getting. I know it sounds crazy. That sounds crazy because it's just 20. It's like, no, like that means you have 20 fans or listeners, consistent listeners. That's hard to do. That's difficult. So if you got 20 downloads, 30 downloads, be proud of yourself and just keep grinding. Just let it grow.
One is good. If I remember the first person to tell me that wasn't a family or friend from and we happen to like work together now. He was from Ohio and he's telling me, "Hey, your show's good." And he's constantly every time I put a show out, and you're like, "Wait, like is someone like messing with me? A family member?" It's like no, it's like people, and then like, wow, that's kind of dope that someone from not even in the Midwest that likes my show, and it makes and that to me. Just that one or two people just telling you that they dig your show definitely makes everything, worth it at the end, because like we talked about, it's a grind. It's a grind. It's not just this is the easy part. What we're doing is easy. It's pre-production, post-production, all that good stuff.
The grind, like, promotion, everything.
It's doing all the research and all that. But it's definitely a grind, but it's definitely worth it at the end of the day, because we at the end we get to talk about what we love, and this is what we're gonna do today. So this is why we're here. So the NBA season, obviously, COVID, all this stuff, scoring up the wazoo, blowouts, all this stuff, crazy NBA season so far. But just happy that we even have NBA basketball, which is
for real, man.
With everything going on, it's still here. And we had some, we missed some games and all that, but the NBA has done as good as job as possible in keeping the season alive. So for you, what are some of your surprises as far as teams and players this season so far? I know there's a lot of guys have come out of nowhere and have had career seasons, teams disappointing, teams that are surprising us. So first, let's go with the teams that are disappointing and surprising for you so far.
So teams that are disappointing, the Miami Heat. I know there's injuries. I know there's things of that nature. Jimmy was out for a while, but this was a team that was built on their chemistry and built on moving the basketball and not relying on one player. So out of all teams that can overcome something like that, I think it would be the Heat. Now, I think they're 7-12 right now. I'm not expecting them to be like first, second, or third in the East, but to be 5 games under 500 is very disappointing. And on that note, I say the same with the Toronto Raptors. I know you lose Serge Ibaka. I know you lose Marcus Gasol, but you still have Siakam, you still have Fred VanVleet. You still have kind of the core that's there that didn't win the championship. But you have some lingering pieces there and people who can play. So to be as bad as those two teams are, that's really disappointing. Like, I don't think either of them were contenders going into the season, but to be at the bottom of the East, like the Knicks are better, the Hornets are better, the Cavs are better. To me, that's surprisingly disappointing.
Yeah, definitely Miami. I think the bubble really took a lot out of them.
Yeah, I agree.
The short turnaround after. I thought when we heard about how quick the season was going to turn around, we thought the Lakers would have some trouble early on, but obviously it doesn't.
Not at all, man.
It seems like they're thriving, and especially with them, LeBron being older, and AD having injuries, you thought, okay, maybe they have a little bit of a slow start and then start heating up around this time. But that doesn't matter. They're I think they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. But for Miami, I mean, we saw what Jimmy Butler did in the finals. Like, he poured literally every ounce of energy into that series. Those 2 wins they had, he literally had to pour his soul out. And we've seen it so far. He hasn't played a lot of games, missed a lot of time. Definitely hasn't seemed to find his groove. Played a little better of late. Last few games, he's definitely looked a little bit like Jimmy Butler. But like you said, overall, Miami is they've definitely struggled so far this season, trying to figure out what's their identity. I mean, Bam's playing pretty good.
Bam's amazing. Like, that's the one bright spot for them right now.
Yeah, Bam has been great, but I think I trust what Miami's doing, and think at the end of the day they'll figure things out, because it's Miami, and they've had this struggle last year, previous season. I mean, they had this a couple of years ago when they were like 15 games under 500, and they turned around, made the playoffs. So I trust what Spoel's doing over there, and I think eventually once Jimmy gets get back in rhythm and they start getting healthy, I think they'll be fine. But yeah, they definitely have been disappointing so far. So who's been the most surprising player and most disappointing player for you?
So the most surprising player to me is Julius Randle. I did not did not see this coming, man.
Julius Randle, baby.
Did not see this coming at all.
I don't think the Knicks saw this coming.
I don't think anybody.
I don't think they take Obi Toppin if they thought this was something.
I agree 1,000%. That's exactly what I was. Do not take Obi. Obi Toppin was picked to replace Julius Randle down the road. They were looking to shop Julius Randle, and he comes out. He's like, I'm not exaggerating, is an MVP candidate. If the Knicks were like 500, like in that range right now, I know they're a couple games below 500, but if they were like, a couple games above 500,
if the record was switched around,
oh my God, absolutely. I mean, the only reason why he's not in consideration right now is because the Knicks kind of fell off a little bit. Like they're in a little bit of a rut, whatever.
Yeah, they lost 8 out of 11. But
come on, like I did not expect this at all, and it's completely changed the plans of the organizations on its head. It really has. Like now, what do you do? Because I was looking at him as a trade piece, and now it's like, do you even want to trade this guy? We got 2 years left with him. Maybe we build with him, build around him. I don't even know. I'm confused as a Knicks fan, but it's a pleasant surprise.
That's daily as a Knicks fan, just confusion.
Yeah, that's honestly what it is. It's like highs and lows, and it's like this team could be great, and it's like this is not the worst team in basketball. It's a really confusing team to root for. Although I would say I'm enjoying myself this year more than other years.
Yes, I mean it's been bad.
Yeah,
it's been really bad, Josh. We've had some really, we've had some
not saying a lot. I mean, what I just said is not saying a lot, but
it's been bad. But like you said, Julie, I don't think the Knicks even thought Julius was going to take another. Like you said, I think they thought, trade chip possibly at the deadline. Trying to figure out, do they guarantee his contract for next year because he was only guaranteed $4 million for next season.
Right.
And now you're like, well, you have to give him, the full 19 now. But now it's a matter of, extension and all that. But that's something you worry about next year. But I mean, it changed the whole, the draft was based on like, all right, we're going to take Obi to eventually replace, because Obi was considered, the most NBA ready player. And he just steps in and they'll trade Julius and he'll fit right in. But Julius, I think this is also a good thing though, because it maybe that lit a fire under Julius, that, they're trying to replace me, man. They're really trying to replace me. Like, and a little fire in him and made him ball out. Like that was the motivation. Maybe that's what we needed to do. Maybe not taking a point guard wouldn't have solved this. Maybe drafting Obi was the thing that we needed for Julius to take that step, because we've seen it last year at points where you see like, dude, he's a talented player, but he tries to do way too much. But it seems like this year he's definitely dialed it back down, play more within the system, more playmaking, not doing the dribble into two people.
He's just playing smarter. It's just playing smarter. That's all it is. It's. I know it sounds simple, it sounds basic, but it's like not spinning in the middle of the lane when there's 3 people, or passing it out. Not forcing a shot. Like it's just kicking it open to the guy who shoot the 3. Like it's just playing smarter. That's really all it is, because the talent's there for Julius. It's always been there for him.
Just finding the backdoor guy, the guy in the corner 3. He's making that pass, and he's playing absolutely tremendous basketball. And maybe we'll see him in the All-Star game. So
we better see him in the All-Star game. I'm sorry.
We better see him in the All-Star game.
We better see him in the All-Star game. We
deserve that at least. That's a route to see him as an All-Star. But who's been the most disappointing player for you?
It's crazy. I can't really put my finger on one.
This is hard.
Yeah, up until recently, and he's playing better, so I got to give him credit for that. But it was Trae Young for a little bit, because Trae Young was not shooting the basketball well at all. And the Hawks were a team that they're playing decently this year. They're probably going to make the playoffs, but a lot of people had him on their radar for like a team that's going to surprise people. And Trae was shooting like 20-something% from the field. So I say that at the same time saying, all right, he's playing a little better. I still think he's going to turn it around. But, I expected him to come out the gates on fire, which he did like the first couple games. But then he hit this huge slump. And now it's kind of like, are we building our team around Trae Young? Should he be taking these type of shots? Exactly. A lot of people compare him to Steph Curry because he's taking shots off the dribble from like 35 feet. And the only person who's been doing that is Dame consistently, aside from Steph Curry. So people are using the Steph Curry comparisons. You doesn't think he's Steph. And, it was just kind of disappointing to see him kind of just, I wouldn't say fall into the narrative of like, I can do this, but more of just like not taking good shots. Like you can do that, Trae. You can take step back 30-footers and hit them, but I would like to see you play smarter. Hit that open 3, take that open 3, step into a 3. Don't force that step back with 18 seconds left on the shot clock. Get your teammates involved because you are a good passer. But he's playing better. So I say he's a disappointment, but at the same time, I have to give him credit and say he is playing better.
Yeah, he definitely has played better of late. And I think people forget he's only in year 3. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like we can't judge these guys too harshly, man. Like
it's crazy to think that. Like it feels like he's been around forever, but he's only in year 3.
He's a baller, bro. He's gonna be fine.
He's gonna be fine. And once they I don't think people realize they added a lot of guys to that team. They've had guys out, like Chris Dunn's been out, and like Rondo's been out, and just trying to get that chemistry going. We know how long that takes, to get that going. So I think they'll be fine. And I also think that they're one of those teams that can make a monster trade because they have so many good young pieces that they could possibly deal. So they definitely trades. He struggled, but you just look at his numbers, even with the struggling, you're like, I'll take that.
Yeah,
I went to 28 and 9. It's just crazy, like how.
I'll turn it around. DeAndre Hunter's playing a lot better this year too, which is good for them. So the Hawks, man, they're a team of the future. I really do believe they're a team of the future in the East.
Yep. And like you said, they just drafted well.
Yeah,
they drafted really well without even having to have they had, obviously Trey was a top 5 pick and they traded for him, but still, like, without having a top 2 pick, essentially they were able to get a lot of good pieces and build the team around Trey. And like you said, a team that could possibly, be one of those top teams eventually in the future. So we'll definitely see. I want to talk about one thing, and let's talk about Brad Beal quick.
Okay.
Obviously.
All right, let's do it.
And it wasn't in the agenda, but I have to talk about Brad. It just popped up because I just saw something that said his last 10 40-point games, they've all lost. Like, do you see a situation where, because we haven't, because Woj came out and said, trades, they haven't heard trade. He hasn't demanded a trade yet and all that, but this has got to be frustrating. Do you see him eventually getting traded this season? And if so, give me a team you think would be a good fit for. I mean, obviously any team.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Every team, obviously, but give me a team you think can realistically pull the trigger and get Brad.
So I do think he will be on the market. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to trade him. His contract is huge, so I mean, you're going to have to get a lot in return for Bradley Beal. There's so many. I know the Lakers have always talked about getting him. I don't think he's a fit for them. Yeah. It would be interesting for me, like the Blazers. CJ McCollum's contract's kind of big as well. But I don't know why the Wizards would want to do that. Like, why would you just kind of laterally move getting CJ? Mm-hmm. To be honest, you're pretty much. I don't know, man. I really don't know of a team right now that could probably use his services. I mean, everyone could use his services, but I would have to look at the contracts and everything to see what team could actually line up and get him. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's on the market. He looks incredibly unhappy. He does not want to be there. The Wizards are probably the worst team in basketball right now. I don't know,
12, man. 3-12, and obviously they've also dealt with a lot of injuries too. Like they lost Thomas Bryant. He's out for the year, and Rui Hachimura's been out, and just a lot of injuries they've dealt with. But still, like, I think we all expected them to be a lot better than 3-12. And like I said, he just looks unhappy, and I just free Brad Beal. Just free him, man. Like, guys, it always upsets me when you see guys. He leads the league in scoring, and it's not just him just chucking up shots. I mean, his PER, I think he's top 5 in PER. Right. So it's showing that he's an efficient player, and he's not just how they say, like, what else that's points that just don't matter. Like, he's just one of those guys.
Volume scorer, yeah.
Volume scorer, just empty stats. Like, he's not an empty stats player. Like, he's a legit NBA player who's really good.
I would like to see him in Dallas, actually, now that I can think about one. Like, if you can build a Beal, KP, Luka kind of big 3, I just don't know what Dallas can give Washington, because outside of KP,
that would have to be
right.
I wonder if Dallas is even like, whoa, like, damn, like
that's a very interesting situation there in Dallas. But for me, like, if I'm going to get Beal, I would want to pair him with KP. So I'm not giving up KP. And it's like, well, if I'm not giving up KP, who am I giving up? And the answer is nobody.
They don't exactly have a lot of pieces to give up. Tim Hardaway, Brunson. They don't have too many guys to give up. But Dallas has definitely struggled too. And that kind of goes into the next segment we're going to talk. We're going to talk about contenders, pretenders. And
okay.
So give me a team that you think is a legit contender, and give me a team you think is pretending right now.
So a contender, I know it's kind of easy for me to say this since they're 1 seed in the West right now, but the Utah Jazz, man, I was high on them last year, and this year they've completely turned the corner. I know it's very easy to say, oh, the number 1 seed in the West is a contender, but a lot of people still don't take them seriously. A lot of people still kind of look at them as a Utah Jazz team that's probably going to go out in the second round of the playoffs. But I honestly think they can make the Western Conference Finals and challenge the Lakers depending on who's healthy, who's not, and how they're playing at the time. Quinn Snyder has him shooting a lot more threes. Mike Conley looks a lot more comfortable.
Mike Conley, like his defense too, has been phenomenal this year.
Right.
He definitely should be considered, for one of those 2 all defensive teams this year.
1,000%. And a lot of people thought he was washed last year. People were, kind of whispers of like, all right, Mike Conley's not the same anymore, but he's come back this year and he's been balling, man. They've been shooting the 3-ball very well. Royce O'Neal's a nice surprise. People don't really talk about him. Joe Ingles is the man. Like I just love their squad.
Donovan Mitchell is playing because that first part of the season he was shooting in the 30s. Shooting like 35%, 30 from 3. Right. Now he's looking like bubble Donovan Mitchell, the Donovan Mitchell that everyone wanted to see. Then Rudy Gobert is doing what he does nightly, And
I think last year they tried too hard with the pick and roll with Rudy, and Rudy would clog the lane. I think this year Quinn just kind of adapted and is like, let's just shoot more threes. Let's spread it out. We have shooters. Why not just go that direction? And they've been doing that, and it's been successful. Rudy's great for defensive purposes. You really don't need him on the offensive end, maybe to set off the ball screens. Shout out off the ball.
No pun intended. No pun intended.
But yeah, I think they're using Rudy better off the ball. I think they're going about their offensive game smarter this year, and I think it's showing.
Yeah, for sure. Like they're just they're clicking. What have they won 12 in a row, something like that?
Like on fire.
Since the Knicks game, when we took them down.
Let's go. Should have beat him in Utah too, to be honest.
Yeah, we should have. We should have. And we caught Utah at the right time, but they took that. They took that to heart, and I played absolutely tremendous basketball so far. So give me a pretender.
Oh, pretender. We just talked about it, man. Dallas Mavericks. Everyone was so high on Luka going into the season, and rightfully so. He's Luka Doncic, and everyone thought he's gonna be like a front runner. But man, this team is bad. Like they're not even
the 13th seed in the Western Conference. I mean, as a Knicks fan, we all know that we're low key rooting for them to be that. So we
hell yeah, give me that pick, baby. Let's go.
It was that pick, but
I did not think it was gonna be that good of a pick. But yeah, man. I mean, you had people thinking they were gonna take a step forward because of the performance against the Clippers in the first round last year, and people were high on Luka, and rightfully so. But they are not a good team. They're not, and Luka knows it too. He's been saying that in his press conferences. So to me, like they're 100% certified pretender.
Yeah. And I had talked about this before the season, and obviously everyone was saying Dallas is they're going to be an up-and-coming team. They're going to take that next step. And I said, let's slow down the brakes because we still, as good as they are, because Luka is an absolutely phenomenal player, all NBA, everything, all world talent. They don't have much after that, and they're relying a lot on Porzingis to be healthy.
And he's just not.
If he's not healthy, I said the West is too good for you to take games off and just hope that KP is going to be healthy. And I said there could be a real chance. And I remember talking, and people were like, "Yeah, it's a little crazy." Like there's a chance they could miss the playoffs because they're going to rely too much on Luka doing his usage rate is going to be crazy, and as is right now, I think he's number 1 in usage rate, and he's going to have to do too much. And they just don't have enough, around him if KP is out. Tim Hardaway Jr., there's nothing There's nothing much.
And Tim's having a career year, and they still suck. I mean, there's just not much around them.
Yeah, they just don't have much around them, and there's no identity. I don't know what this team is, and I think they legit have to figure out, is KP a legit number 2? To Doncic, is that legit? Because it seems like they're just not clicking right now, even when they are playing.
It's very inconsistent. It's like one game it looks good, then the next game it looks awful. Yeah. But that's to your point. That's a sign of it not clicking. You're right.
Yeah, like you see games where he's 0 for 8 from 3, and then Luka's already not a consistent 3-point shooter. He's he's just a scorer. He's just a playmaker and all that. But if you got KP going 0 for 8, and Luka's going to shoot 11 threes and only make 3, I mean, right there is 19, 23 pointers you're missing, right. And that's just they don't have enough to supplement that, I think. And I said that there could be a chance where Dallas misses the playoffs, not because I'm a Knicks fan and I want them to miss the playoffs, but like legit, like the West is a monster.
It is a monster.
The West is a monster. Like we're talking about, and this is also pertaining that thinking Golden State was going to be back, and obviously Clay being out has changed that, but still like they're just not clicking right now. I mean they've in the last 10 games they've won 2 games,
right?
So they definitely struggle, but yeah. I agree. Like they haven't looked right so far. They could, and this can all change because obviously it's still early. Only 20 games, around 20 games into the season. But they could change and they can start on fire, which wouldn't surprise me. But right now, they have really looked disappointing.
I want to give you one more, and that's the Phoenix Suns. There's a lot of talk about the Suns being a Western Conference Finals contender, and they're going to be out in the first round, people. I'm sorry. Like, I like Chris Paul. He's one of my favorite point guards ever. They have a nice squad. They're a good squad. They're going to make the playoffs, I think, maybe in the 6-5 realm, but they'll be out in the first round. I don't know where this Phoenix Suns hype is coming from. I think people just kind of want to create narratives and see what Chris Paul has done with teams in the past few years. But for anyone thinking the Phoenix Suns are a contender, I think they're fooling themselves, especially in the West. I'll be shocked if they get past the first round.
Yeah, I was one of those. I liked them. I did like them. I thought
they're a nice team. I think it's exciting because they're better than they usually have been. But when you look at the West now with the Jazz playing the way they have, the Nuggets probably going to turn the corner a little bit. There's no way I think they win a first round series. They're going to have to play the Lakers, Clippers, Jazz, or Nuggets. They're not beating any of those teams.
It's going to be tough. I mean, just looking at the West right now, I mean, legit. I mean, other than the Timberwolves, who are disappointing, very disappointing what they're doing. That's another team that you just, I didn't think they'd be great, but I didn't think they'd be 4-14 bad. Like it just, they definitely need to shake things up there. But everyone else above that, I mean, the Pelicans are on the 14th seed right now, and they're 7-11, and they're a run away from being, in that top 8, in that top 10 for the play. And it's a murderer's row in the West, bro.
And New Orleans, they have the talent to do so. That's the thing. They just haven't played well this year.
Yeah.
But Brandon Ingram, Zion, like that team has talent. Just haven't put it together.
Yeah, they just got to figure out the chemistry, the point guard situation. Lonzo has played better of late, but has struggled overall. He's trying to figure that point guard situation with Bledsoe. He's playing more too, but he's another point guard they brought in, and Kyra Lewis trying to figure out how to get him minutes. JJ Redick hasn't been the same, and just trying to find that third score because right now it's literally Zion and Brandon Ingram, and then it's the drop off is just
no guard play. It's inconsistent guard play. You can't win in this league with the inconsistent guard play. Your guards have to play well every night.
That's for
especially in the West. Oh my God.
I mean, we talk about Dame Lillard. I mean, how many times he's missed All-Star games simply because the guards are just loaded.
CJ McCollum has never made an All-Star game because the guards are loaded. It's insane.
Exactly right. And this is a year where he could definitely be considered because he's having averaging 26 a game. He's having a great season, but it's just the West is stacked, and Dallas. You mentioned Dallas. It's going to be tough. Like they got to start. It's got to start now.
Yeah, today.
Today. Like you're right. It has to start today because you can't take days off in the West. It's just too. It's just too tough.
Yeah, and then also you need questions answered, right? By the trade deadline, Mark Cuban has to know whether or not Kristaps Porzingis is worth keeping. Like maybe you trade Kristaps Porzingis while his value is still high because next year may not be high. Like you have decisions to make.
And then I have to attach a pick for someone to take his.
Right.
That works. Where like, hey, take the contract and we'll give you a pick to take the contract with. These are real things that Dallas has to figure out.
I still believe in KP, to be honest with you. I might be a scorn Knicks fan, but I still believe, when healthy, he's
that's the only thing. You just mentioned health because when he's healthy, he's playing. He's one of the best players in the league. But the problem is he's just not on the court enough.
Right.
And in order for Dallas, everyone has this fascination. Dallas is going to get this. The only way that happens is with KP on the court playing at a high level. And the thing is, he's just not on the court enough. So Dallas needs him to get healthy so they can figure his thing out because they're definitely struggling. But hey, if we can fade for Cade without actually, without actually doing that ourselves, hey.
That's hilarious. That actually might happen.
Think about that.
That'd be crazy. Because of the KP trade, we get Cade. I mean, it's not. I doubt that'll happen. You never know. They get into the lottery, a couple balls bounce our way, man. Like
maybe
you never know.
Odds are going to bless us in a way we never thought.
Never, man.
Like, hey, I mean, you guys can't be bad in order to get a good pick. All right, so you guys got to hope that this is what we're going to do for you guys. All right,
I'll take it. I will take it. I don't care. I think we've been a cursed franchise ever since we got Patrick Ewing with the envelope. That conspiracy theory.
Envelope.
Sold ourselves to the basketball devil for 30 years, but our time is up.
Yes.
Our time is up. We deserve this. But then we don't. Like, can you imagine like 2 top 10 picks? I mean, like that's the cool thing about like this year about the Knicks. Like I'm liking that they're competitive. I'm liking that we might have, vying for that play-in spot. But if we kind of like falter and there's some injuries, like, all right, well, we might have like 2 top 10 picks depending on what Dallas does. So it's a fun year. It's a fun year.
And you can always, if you feel like there's that one guy and you have 2 top 10 picks and you feel like, all right, that one guy, we could, if someone wants 2 top 10 picks, let's say it's 8 and 10, let's just say,
right.
You can always move up to get one of those top 3 studs and then boom, so there's a lot of scenarios. Obviously we're getting a little I'm really excited right now. Josh, you got me hyped about that. But we still got a ways to go before that happens. But these are if Dallas doesn't start picking it up, this is the real possibility. So definitely interesting to see that will happen. So we just talked about the Knicks. Let's get right into it. The New York Knicks, they've played better. They've played basketball. First of all, they played basketball, right? And they are a relevant team.
That's an accomplishment, people. People who are not Knicks fans, and you hear him say that, you hear Chris say they played basketball. Yeah, they played basketball. We're going to tout that. We're going to celebrate that because it hasn't happened in years. Exactly. So let us have that.
Yes, we've had that, and we're a legit basketball team who's playing good basketball. One of the best defenses in the league. Tibbs got us playing great, and it just feels good to know that when we watch the Knicks game, there's a chance we could win that game. Like even today, they Sunday, they played the Clippers. They played their hearts out. They played a good game. They fell short to a elite basketball team. Right. There's no shame in that. But overall, this season, right now they're 8 and 12 as we're talking right now. But I don't think going into this season. I don't know about you, but I would have jumped, did a bunch of jumping jacks, run back and forth. If you would have told me that we would have started off 8 and 12 this year, I would have just been going bonkers. Like, whoa, 8 and 12? Yes, I'll sign me up for that.
Right.
So far to this date, what's your thoughts on the Knicks season right now?
I love it, man. Listen, I'm not expecting this team to make the playoffs. I'll be honest with you, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think teams like the Raptors and the Heat are going to turn it up a little bit. And, just is what it is. They're going to be playing sub 500 basketball the whole year, but that's okay, man. I just want to see RJ play better. I just want to see Mitch develop. I want to see Knox get more minutes. And I want to see him be consistent from 3 for the whole season. Emmanuel quickly. All right, this guy looks like he's the point guard of the future. Let's get him more minutes and let's see how he creates, off the dribble for his teammates. Like, that's what this year is for. If we make the playoffs, if we make the play-in game, that's great. But if we don't, guess what? We're back in the lottery, hopefully with the Mavs, and that's great too. I think we're in a position as Knicks fans where we can root for this team to win. And, if they lose, it's not that big of a deal as long as they're playing good basketball. There was a play in today's game, and it was weird because the Clippers scored on this possession, but they were moving the ball around. And the way the Knicks were rotating, man, everyone was in the right help spots. They were going out. They were closing out on the 3. And the rotations were when I tell you they were perfect, they were perfect. And Kawhi ended up getting the ball, taking one dribble, mid-range jumper, contested jumper, and it went in. So, like, if you're a casual basketball fan, like, you don't know, like, that was a fucking dope defensive possession. It's just that they got Kawhi Leonard. But that's something that, like, as a Knicks fan, it's like, I like that. Like, yay, we gave up 2 points in that possession, but, like, we played great defense, man. And it's one of those things as a 90s Knicks fan, I grew up in that era. That's something that we've missed, It's something that, has been lacking. And, Thibodeau has brought that to the team. And I'm just happy to see, like, defensive principles in place. The offense, I think, could be a little more creative, but it's not stagnant by any means, which I'm happy about. So I like the direction we're going in.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, it's been a rough, like, the last time we made the playoffs was the 2012-2013 season. Like, it's been, 7-8 years since we made the playoffs. And just overall, think about the last 20 years, only one playoff series win. So we weren't asking for much, right? We just wanted to come to the season. Let's be a competitive ball club, right? That's all we wanted. I think most Knicks fans just wanted that. And we've seen that this year where we have one of the top defenses in the league, top 10 against protecting the rim, the number 1 defense. I don't know about after today against the 3, because they struggled against 3 today, but that was more of just the Clippers just making a bunch of, good shots, because they have elite, they got Kawhi, they got, PG, they got some good, shot makers there, I mean, just seeing guys talk on defense and just the offense, like you said, could be a little bit better. But we know that offense is going to struggle a little bit because there's just not a lot of shot creators on this team right now. But
yeah,
I think we just wanted a team that, like I said, this is going to be a process, right? There's going to be a little bit of a process, but now we can go into the off season, unlike most off seasons where we just go into thinking that because we're in New York that's good enough. Now we can actually show, hey, we actually have some guys and we got a good coach and we've built, a culture, right? Miami talks about culture, right? We talk about culture a lot. We've built a solid culture where it's respectable, right? And then you can bring in, now what comes with that, New York City, blah, 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 all that. So I think just being a competent franchise right now, whether we make the playoffs or not, I don't even think it really matters. We've seen on the court right now has showed that this team is going to be what they are right now, and we're just going to be. They're going to fight. They're going to battle to the very end, and we're going to be a competitive team, and that's all we want. Right?
And we haven't seen any regression either. Like RJ's gotten better. He's playing well. Like even Knox. I want Knox to get more minutes, but when Knox is in there, he's playing well. He's shooting the ball well. And what I like about Tibbs too, like he's not like throwing Frank Ntilikina in for like 10 minutes one game and then benching him for one game and then playing him for 20 minutes one game and then playing Dennis Smith Jr. for like 10 minutes. Because now as Knicks fans, like we have a rotation in our head. We know what the future looks like. Instead of asking all these questions, like who's the next guard of the future? Like Frank's not getting minutes because probably in practice, Frank is not showing he's getting minutes. And that's period. It just is what it is. I've always rooted for Frank. I want him to do well in this league. I think he's a good dude. But if he's not seeing the floor, there's probably a reason for it.
Exactly.
I'm not really asking questions as to why we found Emmanuel Quickly. And instead of only playing Quickly 10 minutes a game and giving Frank 15 minutes a game and maybe giving Dennis 15, we found someone Quickly. Let's develop him. And that's what I like about him. That's what I like what he's doing, because in years past, he's just kind of been like, we'll give Trey Burke 10 minutes today, and then we'll give. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what? Yeah. It felt like a tryout rather than just a team. So I don't know. I just like the direction the team's going in.
Exactly, and you hit a good point before talking about guys like Frank. A lot of people want to see there's a world on Twitter where he has a fan base unlike in no other random.
I like Frank, but people like him.
Yeah, it's like, why isn't he playing? Why isn't he playing? And it's like, well, first he's not available because he's another guy who's always hurt, and it's just he hasn't shown it in 4 years. I just haven't seen maybe a game here where he's looked good, but has there been a moment where you're like, all right, if he's just more consistent doing that, he could be something. I just haven't seen it in 4 years, and I don't get why people are so obsessed with him playing these amount of minutes. It's just like he hasn't shown it. He just hasn't shown. And would you want him to? If he plays 10 minutes, that means Quickly might lose minutes. So, or do you want to? Is that really worthy? To him playing more minutes?
Now, come on.
Yeah,
not at all.
I never understood that. I just never understood that. But I just don't think. I don't think he. I think I want to see him succeed because he's on our team. But I don't know if it's going to be on the New York Knicks.
It won't be.
No,
it's over for Frank. It's over for Frank here. I think he's a solid on-ball defender. I think he's a good backup point guard for a solid team.
Yeah, even if I don't even know if he is a point guard. He's just a solid role player off the bench, combo guard that could give you.
He don't score. That's the problem with him. He's not aggressive for his shot. So how can you be a combo guard if you're not even threatening to put the ball in the hoop? So to me, he's just gonna bring up the ball and set up the offense type point guard.
And even with that, he's hasn't shown that he can be a lead, initiator of an offense.
Right. He shows moments here and there. He has flashes.
And that's the thing. I think too many people fall in love with moments like that game. Like he had like a double-double. And it's like, guys, we're getting excited about one game in 4 years. He had a double-double. Like, come on, guys. Like they always, what about that game? It's like, okay, one game. I've seen how many guys have we seen in the league throughout the whole time we've ever watched basketball have moments where they drop 40 or they 20, 15 assists, and we've never heard about them again. It's like
and then they'll forget when RJ drops 20, and then they'll want to jump off the roof at RJ when he shoots when he has a bad game. It's just picking and choosing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, all right, you guys have more. You guys believe more in Frank than you do in RJ. Like, come on.
And RJ's shown way more. And I'm someone who'd even want RJ, but I'll be completely honest with you. I didn't like RJ Barrett in college. But RJ, I like RJ, man. I think he fits well. I think he's a solid piece, and I'm happy that we got him.
Yep. He's definitely shown his confidence too, which is big. And even today against the Clippers, going against Kawhi, I mean, that's not an easy task. That's not easy.
Not at all. He played well. I was actually kind of mad at Tibbs for not putting him back in the fourth. Getting away from us, and why is RJ on the bench? I mean, I still have my questions with Tibbs as far as the rotation is concerned.
Of course.
As compared to like Fizdale, I don't mean to like bash Fizdale, but compared to like, even like back in those days, like Tibbs, like his rotations are way better. He's playing the best players that he thinks can go out there and win the game for him. I think he's a little too in love with Peyton, but it is what it is.
It is what it is at this point, right? Because I mean, it's not like he has the easiest roster to actually deal with as far as figuring out rotations and all that. Right. So we got to give him, he definitely has things where you question, but we also have to look at the roster too and know that he's overachieved, greatly with this team, because you look at the roster and you still like, man, we're 9-12 with this team. Like that's impressive. Like we got to give him more props than we do, try to give him because of rotations and how the offense is. Like he's doing way better than a lot of people would do. I mean, we've seen teams with more talent. We look at Dallas struggling; they have a lot more talent. We look at New Orleans. They got two guys who are averaging 25 a game struggling. So Tibbs has definitely done a great job. And if they make the playoffs, I mean, it would be. Man, I think the city would, there'd be a little. It will brighten up. It's a little dark in New York City right now because of everything, but it'll definitely brighten up New York City if the Knicks can make the playoffs and we'll see what they do in the playoffs. But we'll see. Still got a lot of games left. We still got 50+ games left. And hopefully our guy Randle is an all-star.
He better be.
Yes,
he better be.
We better be. So vote for Randle. For Randle. I know the hashtag is hashtag. They still got the voting system, but whatever it is, just hashtag vote for Randle if that's the hashtag.
Yes.
But let's get into the last topic and the all-star draft. So we're gonna do a little bit of an all-star draft, and we'll just do a starting five. Obviously there's so many guys to pick. So I'll be a captain. You're a captain. We're just going to pick the five guys who we think should be, starting in the All-Star game. So since you're the guest of honor, I'll let you go first with the first pick.
I'm going to be incredibly generic and pick LeBron James.
Man, I didn't see that coming.
I did not having a good year. He's okay.
is putting it lightly. Like he's just.
But shout out to him. And the Lakers, like you said this earlier in the show, I did not expect them to be this good this quick. I mean, I thought they'd be struggling out the gates a little bit, but they come back and they've been basically balling. I mean, they hit a little bit of a bump, not even really, to be honest with you. But LeBron's playing every day and he's playing well.
They lost 2 in a row. That's it.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a bump for the Lakers. So
and then they won last night against Boston, which was a really good game. And but yeah, LeBron. I mean, I know people talk about this all the time. LeBron, he's 36. Blah blah blah, but the run he's had from 18 years old to what he's doing now, chasing the 5th ring, it's just crazy how good. I mean, we haven't seen this. I don't know if we'll ever see this in our lifetime.
Not in our lifetime, absolutely not. No,
it's just been so impressive. So shout out to LeBron. He's going to be another. I think every year since his rookie year, he's been an all-star. I think I could be wrong, but it feels like every year he's been a starter. And I think what is this 16 All-Star? I mean, impressive. Yeah, it doesn't shock me that you took LeBron James with the first pick. All right, so Josh takes LeBron James in a shocking pick. Yeah,
shocking
pick. And with my pick, I'm gonna go with a guy out east who, tore his Achilles, and a lot of people questioned, will he be back? And I think he's back.
Just a little bit.
And that man is Kevin Durant from the Brooklyn Nets. Man, he hasn't. I mean, you would have never. If I told you, if you just watched him and if you don't know, that he just missed 1.5 years with an Achilles, you'd be like, oh man, he looks good. Like, and if I told you, man, he tore his Achilles, 1.5 years ago, you'd be like, nah, stop it. Yeah, and it's just crazy how good he's been. I think he's averaging over 30 points a game. He has just been phenomenal, efficient. And then, obviously with the team they have, he's still that dude. And I'm going to take Kevin Durant. He's been absolutely fat this year and hasn't missed a beat at all this year. So Kevin Durant.
All right. I'm gonna take now. I'm kind of torn between these two players, but I'm gonna go with Nikola Jokic here. It was between him and Embiid. But I mean, the year that he's having, man, he's incredible. The man does everything. That offense runs through him. He's a fantastic passer. He can score anywhere in the court. I mean, the year that he's having, he's practically averaging a triple double, right?
Yes, I think he is averaging a triple double or a little less.
Unbelievable. He might be a big man leading the league in assists this year. Like, that's insane. That's insane. And the Nuggets, I think they're about to turn up. I mean, they've won a few games in a row, and I think they're about to hit their stride right now. So give me Jokic as my number 2 pick.
Jokic? That's a good pick. He has been phenomenal. So I'll take the guy who I think right now is the MVP of the NBA, and I'm taking Joel Embiid.
Okay.
The Philadelphia 76ers. Another big man who's just having an absolutely monster year. Averaging 28 and 11. He is just he might be defensive player of the year also. He is just having an all around tremendous year for Philly. They're having a really good season. Obviously last year was just a massive disappointment, but that wasn't so much on Embiid. That roster was just built like, they messed up that roster completely after almost getting to the conference finals off a few bounces away from getting to a conference finals and maybe more. Maybe getting to the finals. So I'm going with Joel Embiid to start. He has been absolutely phenomenal. He's shooting at a high clip, 54%, shooting 40% from 3. He's having a monster year. Sixers are playing, high-level basketball. So I'm going with Joel Embiid. All right.
Go wrong there, man. Can't go wrong there. So I'm going to go with Steph Curry. And he's back. I understand that there's probably people who are having better seasons than him that I could have picked, but he's still Steph Curry. I still want him as my point guard. He's the best point guard in the league to me. I just give me Steph. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, listen, and the Warriors too, like they're playing decently. They got off to a really slow start, but credit to Steph. He's kind of taken more of a lead role where he's shooting the basketball a little more like he should have been doing to start the year. And it's just a weird team. They're kind of an interesting like fit. I don't think if it works at Oubre. Wiggins is, but
Oubre has played better of late. I do give him credit. He was awful at the beginning of the year, man. He was dreadful.
And it's no coincidence they're playing better as he's playing better. But yeah, give me Steph, man. I love Steph. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
Can't go wrong with Steph. So all right, I'm gonna go with the Claw. I'm gonna go with Kawhi. Obviously, the Clippers have played tremendous. He just Mr. Consistent. He's going to give you 26, 5 and 5 every year. He's just one of those. He's just still one of the best players. Still the master of the mid-range game. And then watching the game today, I mean, you just see how, just how incredible he is in the mid-range. And Clippers are playing absolutely high-level basketball right now. Obviously, we got to see how it fares in the playoffs. But this is for the All-Star game right now. So I'm going to go with Kawhi Leonard as my third All-Star starter.
Okay. I respect that. So for my fourth, I'm going Giannis. I feel like people just kind of forgot about him or just bored with him.
Yes, I think that's what it is. It's just like voter fatigue. Like it's just that's what it is.
2-time MVP. But he's still putting up crazy numbers. He's still one of the most unique players in the league. And yes, he does need to develop other aspects of his game, but that does not mean that he's still not dope. And so therefore, if as my fourth pick in the All-Star game, I'll take him. To be honest.
Can't go wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, he's still having a phenomenal season. I know. Yeah. I think people just focus so much on the flaws, and yes, the flaws are something that they have to worry about in the playoffs. But I mean, let's just not forget how good this man is. Like this is a 2-time MVP, defensive player of the year. I mean, this guy is a tremendous player, even with the flaws of not shooting and poor free throw shooting. I mean. He's still averaging crazy numbers, 30 and 12. He's still playing at a high level. So, can't disrespect Giannis too much. I think it's just fatigue. People are just tired of him, right now. But can't go on that. So my pick, man, this was hard. This is hard. But
there's a lot to choose from, man.
There's so many options. But I feel like this man needs to be celebrated because he has been super clutch. I'm going to go with Dame Dollar. Damian Lillard.
Can't go wrong with Dame, baby.
Can't go wrong with Dame. Last night hit a buzzer beater, but he's been doing that for a minute right now, and just having another tremendous season. Like his team has battled a lot of injuries. Again, another year with injuries all over the place with their bigs, and obviously McCollum's hurt. But I mean, Dame just keeps doing what Dame does.
Yeah.
He's just special. He's just a special player. 30 a game, shooting 45%, 38 from three. I mean, the list goes on and on. He has his team in the playoffs right now, which is important, right? Got them in the top 7 seed.
Half their team is hurt, like on IR.
Exactly. So what he's been able to do to carry that team, he's special. I mean, he shoots 94% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
That's pretty much that's automatic. So I'm gonna give Dame his fly. I'm a big Dame guy. If I had to say to pick a favorite player, I don't have one, but if I had to pick one, it would be Dame. I just love his game, so I'm going with Dame.
Dope. I'm having trouble with my last one. I think there's 3 people in my head right now. One who doesn't get too much love, and Jaylen Brown, who's having a phenomenal year, but I don't know if I want to put him as a starter. Paul George, redemption. I mean, he had a horrible bubble, come back having a strong year, but I can't say no to Luka Doncic, man. I mean, listen, I know the Mavs suck. We ripped them to shreds earlier in the episode, but Luka's still Luka, man. And at the end of the day, he's still one of the better players in the league. I mean, he was people thought he was going to be the MVP this year. Like, they thought he was going to take that step. And honestly,
he was the favorite, even though the betting sites had him as the favorite.
He was the favorite. And honestly, a lot of it he did get off to a slower start this year, but the reason why he's not even talked about is just because his team sucks. It's not him. So give me Luka. I like the passing backcourt. Steph Curry, Luka, and LeBron on the same team. That's a fun.
That's a fun.
And Jokic passing the basketball. That's a
man. I should have thought about my team. That's a lot of good passing, man. I gotta figure this out. But my fifth. Look, man. Like we talked about before, it's tough because you can go. I was thinking about Brad Beal.
Yeah.
And I think he should be an all-star, but I would have him on my reserve if we were to continue. But since we're only going to do 5, I'm going to go with the beard. I'm going to go with James Harden.
Okay.
I'm going to go James as my 5th. I know he's had a very crazy season. He's had a very, very crazy season with everything going on. But at the end of the day, he's still one of the best players in the league, averaging 25, 10 assists. Like, he's still, like, he hasn't been full beard yet and still is averaging 25 and 10 so just wait until he gets clicking with Brooklyn. But I would put him as my 5th and final all-star starter this year. And this will be a fun game. I might have to do this in 2K. We might have to simulate this and see what happens.
Let me know what happens, man. Let me know.
We might have to see that, But so that completes our little all-star draft. Obviously, like you said, there's so many guys that deserve to be all-stars.
Yeah.
But they've got a pretty good list, and it's gonna be interesting to see who gets in. Hopefully, our guy Julius gets in. No, Knicks fans are rooting for him big time.
He better get in. Seriously.
I think it's going to be tough because, like you said, there's a lot of big man. You got Sabonis who deserves it too. There's a lot of guys. I mean, we'll see what happens, but he definitely deserved it. But Josh, my man, this was a lot of fun, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yes. So, like I said, thanks for coming on. Appreciate the time. Like I said, thanks for everyone for listening. If you listen to it live, if you're listening on Dash, on Nothing But Net Radio, appreciate everyone for tuning in. So before we sign off, Josh, where can the people find you and all your work?
At Josh_Rodriguez_. That's my personal account. My podcast account is at The Dime NBA. You can search The Dime with Josh Rodriguez on all podcast platforms. An NBA podcast come out once a week. Similar to what we did today. Some segments. I like having fun. If you couldn't tell. So
your show's a lot of fun, man. I said I was on it maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then the how you produced the show and all that, it was one of the most fun I've ever had on the show. So
I appreciate
please check out Josh's show. It's definitely a lot of fun. That's the cool stuff he does on his show. So make sure to listen, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and show love to Josh. But like I said, Josh, I appreciate you coming on, bro. This was a lot of fun.
I appreciate you.
Yes, we definitely got to do this again. And like I said, hopefully, NBA season continues. The COVID stuff. Everyone follows the rules and all that. And we continue to watch basketball and see how our Knicks do. See how the Knicks do. See how the young guys do.
Let's go.
Fingers crossed. But I'm Chris LeBron from Off the Ball Podcast. You can follow me on all podcasts. You can listen to the show on all podcast platforms. Also listen right here on Nothing But Net Radio, on Dash Radio. Make sure to follow me on social media, Off the Ball Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Wherever you listen to your podcast, again, go check it out. I'm Go follow my network, Off the Ball Network, OTB_network on Twitter, and all that good stuff. So on that note, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Josh, my man, you be safe. All right, brother?
Man, take care.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and I'm out.